pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what's around we hair and the twilight's last gleam? Stripes and bright stars through the for the red be washed, we're so gathered
in stream.
Get through
Through the night that our blood that our spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you. And Tori Ergang will lead us in our invocation.
Today I'm reading a Thanksgiving prayer from Ralph Waldo Emerson. For flowers that bloom about our feet, Father, we thank thee. For tender grass so fresh, so sweet, Father, we thank thee. For the song of bird and hum of bee, for all things fair we hear or see, Father in heaven, we thank thee. For blue of stream and blue of sky, Father, we thank thee. For pleasant shade of branches high, Father, we thank thee. For fragrant air and cooling breeze, for beauty of the blooming trees, Father in heaven, we thank thee. For this new morning with its light, Father, we thank thee. For rest and shelter of the night, Father, we thank thee. For health and food, for love and friends, for everything thy goodness sends, Father in heaven, we thank thee.
Thank you, Tori, and John Healy for visiting Rotarians and guests.
We welcome Marissa Troxel, guest of David.
Our Rotarily Yours recorder today is Chris Anderson. Our many thanks to you and the committee, as always, for all you do to help us keep informed. The membership committee recently voted and recommended Dewey Jones for membership. Dewey has attended several recent meetings as a guest of Mark Olson. The board held a special meeting this past Friday, during which the recommendation for membership was approved. Please notify Board Secretary Lisa Goodell in writing if you have any concerns in the next 10 days. We will have a regularly scheduled board meeting this coming Friday morning. And with that, Christmas party, a couple notes about that, or not Christmas party, I apologize, a cappella. A cappella will be at First Lutheran on December 6th. We will get a sign-up sheet rolling around next week so that we know how many meals to prepare. We will be able to eat on site at the church, and looking forward to a nice performance from the school. With that, Sue Jones, I believe you have an announcement, followed by Michelle Jones, and I expect Sherry Kroll has one as well. So.
Next Monday, after the meeting, we will have a communications committee meeting right here. And it's very, very important so that I can go to Mexico.
Okay, so I met with the social committee, made a couple of decisions. So 2 weeks from today, our meeting will not be here. It will be at the Chop House on the corner of North Main. They do have jazz on Monday nights. Our meeting will be from 4:30 to 6:30. They will accommodate us in the top room, serve us if you want food or drink, but there's no cost to members. Just come on in, enjoy the company and get to know people. It's not an official meeting, but we look forward to seeing everybody. And then the Christmas party, December 20th, it looks like it'll be 6:30 to 8:30. Destination is still pending. We're just waiting to get some final things. We're gonna do some Christmas trivia and actually have someone come in and do some presentations for us, and it'll be a lot of fun. So I hope to see everybody there.
Sherry?
Hi, thanks. I'm excited about getting together. That'll be great. The Youth Services Committee is going to be having parent-student informational Zoom meeting on Thursday night at 7 p.m. I posted it on Facebook. I think Chris is going to put it on the website. It's open to any past host families, past students, and people that are interested in either being a host family or being an exchange student for the 2022-23 year. We're going to be taking preliminary applications through the end of the month, and we're going to be doing interviews on December 3rd.
Sue? Yes, social media is where we're going to get the word out. So Sherry posted an announcement about the meeting this Thursday. Get on Facebook, share it for us, and that's the good news.
The DEI committee will be meeting on Thursday at noon at the Jackson Center. Anyone interested? We'd love to have you join us either virtually or in person.
Any other committee announcements? Words for the good of the order? All right. With that, it's 50-50 time. Vince Horrigan has the bucket. $45 to the winner. $307 to the winner. Sue Jones. And it's time for Sergeant at Arms Doug Conroe.
Okay, who's that? That's Greg. I got him. Okay. Mark has to leave early today, so he's helped start the bucket off. Newspaper's a little slow still getting your pictures out there, but there was one that was in 2 papers. So can we count 2? And but Mike Roberts is not here. Amy's online. She can donate through that. Joelle, I don't see. She's online. So the United Way presentation from Northwest. That was a good start for the campaign. Thank you, Northwest. Oh boy, not a lot else going on here. There's one fellow was wearing a mask and he didn't think I'd recognize him in the paper. But well, thank you. What were you? Hospice. Okay, the red coats. Hospice. You're in hospice. Okay, I gotta look at that. So he was hiding behind his mask. Tori, yeah, come on up. You might have a football too. And as long as you're standing there, the bow tie recognized Andy. So Andy was at a ribbon cutting care center. So we make note of that. Good thing. Thank you, sir. You certainly can.
I had 2 happy bucks while I'm up here. I might as well leave them an empty wallet. First, I'm delighted to be wearing this beautiful bow tie. It was made by a fellow Rotarian who ran an international bow tie company for a while. Dave, many thanks. Beautiful bow tie. I'm slightly better because of the bow tie. The second happy happy buck was that this Saturday, I had the pleasure of seeing another fellow Rotarian. I hope I'm not taking any of your thunder. Vince Horgan, inducted in the Senate Hall of Fame as our colonel. Thank you, Doug.
No, you're not taking my thunder, but I too did take note of that. And, but I would not fine Vince for that. However, I would believe that everyone in the room who is not a veteran would like to put money in the pot for Veterans Day and for Vince's service. Okay. So, and while you're on your way up here, if you are a Jamestown High School grad, or if you are a Randolph, Randolph football champions, Section 6, Jamestown Red Raiders, or whatever they're calling themselves this year, Section 6. So come on up, alumni of Jamestown and Randolph. Okay.
I'm not alumni, but my boys are. And they've been in a lot of.
And they've been in a lot. That's quite all right. Okay. There's a 5. Okay, all right. Thank you, people. Thank you. I won't, you've been so generous today. There's some, I'll pass over some trivia. Okay. But football season is still upon us. Notre Dame, Mike Moots, we need you back. Michigan State, Spud, we need you back. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio State, Toledo, Army, Clemson, Steve, you here? Air Force, Mount Union, Portland, Muhlenberg, you're on again. Muhlenberg's on a streak, it's been every week. John Carroll, RPI, Brockport, Grove City. I don't hear the footsteps of people coming forward now. Surely, Syracuse, well, we aren't going to talk about Louisville, are we? IDEM? Yep, Army, Heidelberg, Duquesne. So we've got to do some better research here. Okay, so I think that's it for me for today. Perhaps there's another happy buck or two.
Yep, happy bucks.
Hi, I thought it was a good idea if I brought my cohort in crime with me today. This is our last Rotary Club meeting until the spring. And that's a sad story, but it's also a nice story because we will be heading out to Pakistan for the international project this year, which is the polio inoculation clinic. And I just wanted to read a couple real quick things about that. Most of you know about polio, but just to recap, Rotary Club got started on this in 1979 and created this global polio eradication initiative with some other people and other groups, the Gates Foundation, the World Health Organization, and some others. And since then, Rotarians have contributed about $2 billion to this, which is a lot of money. We started off in the Philippines about 35 years ago. We are now down to 2 countries, and it's very appropriate that our club is funding this clinic in one of the last 2 countries, in Pakistan. Now, the interesting thing about that is that we're 99% done with polio, but if you don't finish it, if you don't make it over the line, I noticed this, it said, if all eradication efforts stop today, within 10 years, polio would paralyze as many as 200,000 children each year. And this is a childhood disease. This is kids 5 and under. So it's a great thing you're doing. We're excited about getting on the ground and seeing what's going on. with that clinic, and we'll be happy to see you again in the spring.
I've been gone a lot. Sorry, social committee, but I'm here to help now for whatever. So I've been gone a lot, and then I've been gone so much. I didn't know if I mentioned my daughter-in-law is now the assistant dean of the School of Public Health and Public Health Professions at UB. And my son has just been named the chairman of the Department of Political Science at UB. So.
Thank you, everyone, for your happy bucks, and Doug will appreciate getting you all back in the paper too. It's time for a Paul Harris. We haven't had one of those in a week.
Thank you, Kevin. I know you all will be sad, but our season of Paul Harris Fellows is rapidly ending. And so it's been a fun time, and some well-deserved people have gotten mentioned. But leading into this last night at 2 a.m., I was trying to think of what I was going to do to lead into this. And so I thought I'd do it by saying something about you just can't get away from Rotary. And Sue and I had the pleasure of going to Coronado Island, San Diego, California, to meet up with some old practice members, optometrists. We are members of a group, study group that got together twice a year. We discussed professional things. We discussed staff motivation, how to make them happy, how to reward them, technical stuff, new instrumentation, everything. We did all of that. And so they invited some of us previous members back. So the focus group said, why don't some of you come back? And they immediately called us the out of focus members. So during that time, I had the pleasure of talking to a spouse of one of the also out of focus members. And I'm going to let you know a little bit about him because this is going somewhere when it comes to Rotary. So his name is Dr. John Amos, and he received his bachelor's in optometry degree from my alma mater, Illinois College of Optometry, and his master's from Indiana University. He joined the United States Air Force while serving as an optometry officer. He was awarded the Bronze Star for meritorious service in Vietnam. In 1972, he joined the faculty of the University of Alabama at Birmingham School of Optometry, where he went on to publish major papers in many different organizations and journals, and also contributed to making 2 textbooks. He's also spoken at hundreds and hundreds of educational communication courses throughout the country. He was named dean of the school at University of Alabama in 2003, and he held that position until 2009. So shortly, if I had to say anything about John, in the world of optometry and vision care, John was one of those biggies. But it's interesting. We chatted, and we talked a little bit about optometry, but then he said to me, Greg, when you were in optometry practice, did you do anything to contribute to your local area? I said, well, John, probably one of my main things I did was I was a member of Rotary. Oh, I soon found out that I was talking to a fellow Rotarian, a multi-Paul Harris fellow, and our conversation turned to all the great things that Rotarians accomplish throughout the world. So I thought we'd be talking about eyes and stuff. And really what we were talking about is the joy of something like this called the joy of service above self. So that leads me to our first presentation. And I can't remember where my sheet is, but I'll find it. So here are a few facts about our next Paul Harris Fellow. This person holds a BS in business from Robert Morris University and an MS in education from Buff State. She was assistant personal manager of a 5,000 employee manufacturer of towboats. Now there's an interesting occupation, a manufacturer of towboats and barges on the Ohio River. Part owner of electronic repair service for the coal mining industry. This is really kind of interesting. Sometime I got to talk to this person, see how they got involved in all this. Repairing gas detection and communications and lighting equipment. Assisted 7 friends and acquaintances and started businesses in the Pittsburgh area. She also, and now you'll know, became the first business counselor, then the second director of the Small Business Development Center at JCC. That is a position that she held for 31 years. It is my pleasure to present our newest Paul Harris Fellow, Irene Dobies. And Kevin, if you would, I want you to present Irene with her Paul Harris pin. And that's her second Paul Harris Fellow, by the way, so thank you. And I'm going to let Irene have time to give a few comments. And also maybe you have another announcement you'd like to do.
I do. Thank you. I've loved being part of Rotary and hope we have many years to come. But I want to talk about back in my old working days, I served on many boards with this person. When board members became too competitive, she would always say, "We are a team working towards better outcomes for the businesses we serve." After retiring, I still enjoy being part of her team and am pleased to award my Paul Harris Fellow to Sally Martinez.
Okay, this leads me to another Paul Harris presentation. So I will tell you a little bit about our next Paul Harris recipient. The first time she came to Jamestown was to a Viking party with her parents. That's an exciting thing. The next, as a parent with 2 sons, she headed off to a YMCA swimming competition here in Jamestown. Then after 15 years as a volunteer for various organizations, in government in big city and a college degree, which led to a 10-year career in yet another city. She came to Jamestown for yet another great job. In this job, she also helped many in their careers and business development. Her statement is very simple. She says she won't leave. She loves it here. So you're stuck with me. Please welcome our newest Paul Harris Fellow, second time Paul Harris in one day, which I think is a first for us. None other than Sally Martinez. Joni, if you would come up, actually Sally received her Paul Harris Fellow in your year, so I'm going to have Joni present that to you.
I already have it.
So that's your Paul Harris pen. It's in the box. You don't have to pin it up. Here.
Hi, Joni.
Okay, now you get to say a few words, my dear.
Yes, I have a few words to say. And those are all true. The whole thing about coming the first time as a young adult, I think I was probably 12, so that's not young adult yet, going to a party at the Vikings. I thought everybody was Swedish here. So
I had the privilege to work with a wonderful woman for 5 years when I came to Jamestown. She was introduced to me by Mayor Kimball, who suggested that I hire her to be my assistant at the Empire Development Zone, which was comprised of the city of Jamestown, the town of Ellicott, and the village of Faulkner. So I interviewed her and hired her just like that because of her vast experience and dedication to Jamestown and Chautauqua County and the whole state of New York. Together, we organized the 4 zones in the Southern Tier. Fredonia, Friendship, Dunkirk. I guess it was 5. Fredonia, Dunkirk. Okay. Friendship, Olean, and Jamestown. We called ourselves the Southern Tier EDZs. We had labels. We met all the time. We had labels. We did this so that if a business came to any of us and we couldn't satisfy what they need, we'd make sure we would satisfy it between the rest of us. I'm not nervous at all. Then we got all of the economic development organizations in the county of Chautauqua, the IDA, the city of Dunkirk, the city of Jamestown, everybody. And the Small Business Development Corporation, of course, and that's where the team really came in. Got everybody to meet and agree that no door was the wrong door. That if somebody came to any of us, we would get the group together and make sure we kept them to our county. And that's how we got CERTA. CERTA came and said, we're not going to tell you who we are. We want to see how you work together. And if you don't work together, we're not interested. Within a half hour of all of us being there, CERTA said, we're CERTA Mattress, we're coming. So that's it. So that's it. Oh, then we did also. We got certified 60 businesses. We wrote and got approval for the very first economic development zone lending fund in the state. And I thank heaven every day for my friend Pat. She truly deserves her second Paul Harris Fellow.
So Pat, if you would come up here to receive Pat's second Paul Harris Fellow and one of the most fun people to pick up trash on I-86 I ever worked with. So I'd like to thank all the members for putting up with me so often. And next year you will have somebody else doing this job, but it's been a pleasure. I've met some great people and found out a lot of nice things about Rotarians that you would never find out if it wasn't for this presentation. So thank you very much.
It is now my pleasure to welcome Stacy Hannon from the program committee, who will introduce our guest speaker. For those attending by Zoom, remember you are welcome to ask questions during the Q&A, either by voice or typing your questions into the chat. And I promise I'm going to put the chat box up right now.
It's my pleasure today to introduce Kristina Melquist. She is now the new executive director of the WCA Foundation. Kristin grew up in Jamestown and returned to the area after spending 25 years in Maine as a fundraising professional for hospitals, healthcare centers. She is a graduate of Jamestown Community College and Fredonia State University, where she earned a bachelor's degree in English journalism. I have a job for you too, so. She has been the chief fundraiser in consulting, raising more than $50 million in capital campaigns ranging from hospice center. Sorry, I forgot my glasses up here. The Salvation Army, also Northern New England and Division. She also the YMCA Social Services Organizations and the Maine Health Hospital System. She and her husband live in Jamestown, New York, and we are really want to welcome you back home. And a little note, her and I were sorority sisters in high school, Phi Delta Gamma. We had a lot of fun. Thank you.
I have to tell you an inside joke. Every time that I have a microphone in front of me, I just want to do like stand up. I want to just like take over and tell jokes. I won't do that. Maybe later. As Stacy said, I was born and raised in Jamestown, New York. My grandparents, both sets were Swedish immigrants. Both of my parents served in the Navy during World War II. My dad was a Jamestown police officer and later in his retirement managed Midway State Park and Long Point State Park. My mother, who was a Navy nurse, began her civilian nursing career in the maternity ward at the WC Hospital. WC Hospital was the center of our family life. My two sisters worked in the dietary department in high school, and one of my first jobs at 16 years old was waitressing in the snack shop. As Stacy mentioned, I am a graduate of Jamestown Community College. I served on the alumni board there and in SUNY Fredonia. For the past 25 years, I've worked in Maine as a development professional and consultant with hospital systems, hospice organizations, and healthcare center, raising funds and teaching others the art of making charitable solicitations, the creation of capital campaigns and endowments. It seemed quite fitting in my career and my life path that I would lead the way in the work of the WCA Foundation. I am proud to be the fourth female executive director at the WCA Foundation here right in my hometown. Let me tell you a little bit about the history of the WCA Foundation. The WCA Foundation was founded in 1981 and incorporated in 1982 as supporting organization to the WCA Hospital. They began with a modest sum of $180,000 from funds donated from the estates of Gertrude Harrington, Carl Hultquist, and Julia Livengood, some folks you may remember. In 2016, the WCA Hospital and the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center integrated into the UPMC's network to become UPMC Chautauqua with a #1 goal to deliver world-class healthcare for the residents of Jamestown and its surrounding communities. In continuation, the WCA Foundation remained steadfast in supporting the healthcare initiatives of UPMC Chautauqua and the citizens of Chautauqua County. Today, the WCA Foundation is comprised of 48 endowed funds established by families and individuals, and our investment portfolio is valued at more than $19 million. Since 1982, the WCA Foundation has provided over $12 million in grants to the hospital. The funds stay in the community and are used to purchase equipment and educational needs that are above and beyond the budgetary allowance of the hospital. Last year, the foundation awarded UPMC Chautauqua with one of the largest annual grant awards of over $600,000 to support the hospital's healthcare initiatives for the benefit of the people of this region. care. In this season of gratitude, I ask you to please consider a gift to the WCA Foundation. You could play a real and important role in advancing our caring mission for all. You may recall Thomas Wolfe's novel, You Can't Go Home Again. The title helped coin that phrase, and it's become somewhat of a cliche, but there is some truth to it. Jamestown is a very different place than it was 25 years ago when my husband and I moved to Maine. But there are some things that remain the same. Innovation, kindness, hope, good neighbors, and generosity. I don't have to tell the Rotary clubs, you folks, you're worldwide leaders in philanthropy. And thank you for making this community and the world a better place for others. Thanks so much. Any questions? No questions. The funds are decided by a hospital. So there are funds that are restricted. So when those funds are restricted, then they have to purchase or they afford education that is restricted to that. And then there are funds that are unrestricted where those can go to the greatest need. There's also what's called pass-through funds. So if someone has an immediate need for medication, a department sees that they're a need, that the WC Foundation can provide that. Yes. So I'm kind of a hot ticket. When my when my picture appeared in the paper, I probably about 6 calls from people from the community asking me, once someone hears that you're a fundraiser, they're like, yes, oh yes, we want that person on our committee. But I have decided that the only organization that I'll devote my time to would be the Rotary. So beginning in January, I will join you folks and hopefully that you will guide me to be a great Rotarian like you folks are. Any other questions? Yes. The money is invested. We have a professional group of investors, Career Capital, that their investors work for us. And they have made some very smart decisions. And the stock market, if any of you folks who have funds in the stock market, you know it's doing very, very well. And so 4.25% of our earnings then is distributed to the hospital. 1% is the administrative overhead. Any other questions? Thank you for, oh, yeah.
How does UPMC apply for funds? Do you have an application period? Kind of a, dropped in the talk list type thing? What's the?
So I'm sure you're familiar with strategic plans, right? And so as the hospital looks at their strategic plan, they look at what their greatest needs are. And so throughout the year, this huge spreadsheet with all of the funds and their purposes are kept so that if someone is looking to buy a piece of equipment and there's a fund that funds that particular piece of equipment, then the proceeds will go to that purchase of that. Then there's a committee that sits down to decide that. And then we as a foundation are fiduciaries of those funds, and that we have a responsibility to the donor to go back to the donor to say, this is what we did with your money. So as a fundraiser, I spent lots of time in people's houses in Maine. And when I was at the Salvation Army in Northern New England, I would only visit people who were at $50,000 and above. I felt that it was my responsibility to tell them how their money was spent. And so I would come in oftentimes with a spreadsheet, or I would tell them specific stories on how their dollars were used. I think it's, first of all, it's part of receiving those incredible funds, but I think it's the excitement that you see in the face of a donor when they really made a difference in somebody's life. And all of us know that feeling. It is an incredible feeling to make a difference in somebody's life that is long lasting. It is so important for us in this small community to have a hospital system that can take care of us. I look around the room for a lot of gray-haired people. And as you get older, that becomes very essential to your quality of life. I just had lunch with an old friend that I knew from junior high school. That's one of the things I love about Jamestown. You can go back and it's like you've never stopped being friends. But he told me he was in CVS one night and he said, I felt like there was an elephant sitting on my chest. And he said, no, I went to the hospital in 7 minutes. I was on the helicopter to UPMC Hammett. So having that connection and those strong bonds with other hospitals that can take care of those things. He said his physician told him if he would have not gotten there any later, he probably wouldn't be alive today. So those are the kind of things that are very important to our community, along with many, many others. But for me, it was important that I would come back to Jamestown. I've loved this town forever. And when I left here 25 years ago, I really left kicking and screaming because I really wanted to stay here. But I think it was essential for me to bring back the work that I've done and to bring it back here to the community that I love. I have one more question over there. Thank you. Well, I think as fundraisers and in organizations, a process and a plan is always essential. You just, can't decide you're going to do it one day, do it hit and miss. I think that fundraising depends on when the donor gives. So let me give you an example. When I was a major gifts officer for a large hospital, I would keep a list of 175 donors that I followed. And that I would meet with those 175 donors. And so if they gave their gift in September, then I would then probably start putting a proposal together for them 2 months before their giving date. So that I never wanted them to just hand me a check. I wanted to have a conversation, and I also wanted to get to know them and match what their interests were and their passions with what the needs were of the organization. And I think when you have a plan, when you really sincerely know the people that you're asking funds from, you know what their interests and passions are, and you put them together, that's really when you have success. So to answer your question, I don't know if there is a great time to ask. I think it depends on what the donor's great time is. Any questions? Sure. Yes. Well, I think there's a couple things. First of all, you're talking about an annual appeal, and you will get one from the WCA Foundation because I just finished it, brought it to the printer. So those annual appeal, those dollars are what we call the general fund. Those normally are non-restricted dollars. So the organization has those funds where they can put them where they need them the most. Oftentimes, it's done at the end of the year because people are preparing for their tax year. And so they want to get those last gifts in there. And if they have been meeting with their financial team, they know that they need to come in at a certain number. So there's that obligation. But I think you're right. I think at the end of the year, this is the season of gratitude. And that it's a time that we want to give back to our community to make it whole. And so those dollars are very, very important. We know the United Way here is doing a great job of doing that work, as well as many other nonprofit organizations. But that doesn't mean that's the only time of the year that you ask donors for funds, because people often with great wealth, they might not give to the annual campaign, but they're interested in a certain project or an interest that they would like to fulfill that passion. So that always isn't the time of year when someone gives. Any other questions? Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you all.
One of Rotary's major international programs, as you know, Kristin, is the eradication of polio around the world. We're down to just 2 countries, as you've heard earlier. In honor and thanks for your presentation to our club today, we will be making a donation in your name that will vaccinate 4 children who will never experience polio in their life. Yeah. Remember, this year's Rotary International theme, Serve to Change Lives. Caring for and serving others is the best way to live because it changes not only other people's lives, but also our own. Thank you. We are adjourned.